Hello, everyone. I'm Kat Timpf, along with Ebony K. Williams and David Webb. This is the Fox News Specialists. President Trump is disbanding two of his business councils amid the controversy over his Charlottesville response. The decision this afternoon follows an exodus of executive members. The president tweeting, quote, "Rather than putting pressure on the business people of the Manufacturing Council and Strategy and Policy Forum, I am ending both. Thank you all." Also today, the memorial service was held for Heather Heyer, the 32-year-old woman killed in Saturday's domestic terror attack in Charlottesville. Her parents delivering emotional speeches about their daughter's life and legacy.
I came here today and I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed at the rainbow of colors in this room. That's how Heather was. It didn't matter who you were or where you were from. If she loved you, that was it. You were stuck. So for that, I'm truly proud of my daughter.
They tried to kill my child to shut her up. Well, guess what? You just magnified her. I'd rather have my child, but by golly, if I got to give her up, we're going to make it count.
This is a very sad, sad thing, Ebony, which is one of many reasons why I'm so sick to think of having the leader of this country suggesting that she deserves some blame for what happened.
Kat, this is hard for everybody today. I think this has been a heavy, difficult day to work in news. Before I speak to Trump, which I know we will get to President Trump much of the hour, I want to just speak to her parents. The courage, and I don't know their belief system. As a Christian, it spoke to me. The courage to say they tried to shut her up, but she will be magnified. That is certainly how my higher power works, Kat. In the face of opposition, when the enemy tries to take you out, whoever that enemy may be for whatever reason, goodness is amplified and it spreads like wildfire. And in this moment, I am so inspired and humbled by that leadership from her parents. And I really hope, much like with the massacre in Charleston, where those 9 parishioners were shot and killed just for their belief system, right, and the family of Reverend Pickney, and that was amplified and glorified and illuminated the world. I hope that Heather and her message, not her death, but her message, will light the world in the same way.
Absolutely. David, your thoughts?
Well, I've got a couple thoughts, and some of them aren't very popular, and they won't be with either one of you. One, I want to address her, as you all did. She went out there to do what is her constitutional right and her God-given right in this country to protest under the First Amendment in whatever way. We don't know why, how, who she belonged to, nor should that be the main focus. Mm-hmm. But I'm also a little bit shocked at the limits of intellectual cowardice on this issue, on the left and the right in this country. The fact is, there were many groups that came there, primarily hate. There was the protests, of course, being led by the neo-Nazis. All right, nobody, I mean, who in this country wants Nazis or fascists? There were the Black Lives Matter.
The ones that were there.
But let me finish. There were the Antifa people. And to the president's words, if you don't read Politico, who then corrected themselves, if you actually look at it for what it is, there were many faces of hate. There were also people who said, do we erase the history? They were protesting peacefully. They're not the story. There were people who said, take it down. They were protesting peacefully. They're not the story. They're not the ones being talked about here. And the intellectual cowardice is to sit here and parse words rather than look at the reality of who was in Charlottesville. And I'd rather talk, as I do on my radio show, to people who are there, reporting on what happened there, watching the videos, rather than the hyperbolic behavior going on by Republicans, Democrats, on all sides.
I don't think her death was hyperbole, David. And I think...
I'm not saying her death is hyperbole.
Someone died in a terror.
Yeah, to have a conversation about the removal of the monuments is fine. And we could have that debate all day long. I'm sure we will get into it. But for me, anyways, Kat, and I want your take, this has to be about the loss of her life, why it happened, and what we're going to do about it.
So how many news reports are actually about the murderer and her death over the president's words? When you look at the total media coverage, they're covering the president president's words and parsing it.
Because his words were
covering rather than-
unbelievable to many Americans, myself included. But we have to bring our specialists in, and we will be talking about this very shortly more. All right, let's meet today's specialist. She is a Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate from Michigan, the co-owner of Vesco Oil, and the Michigan co-chair for Donald Trump's presidential campaign. So she specializes in all things politics. Lena Epstein is here. And he's a rock and roll legend, selling 40 million albums in his career. He's received the prestigious James Fenimore Cooper Award for his accomplishments as a writer and was named Michigan's Conservationist of the Year. And he specializes in planting trees. He's been recognized by the National Arbor Day Foundation for mentoring kids in the fine art of tree planting. Ted Nugent is here. A lot of Michigan people. I'm a Michigan girl. Michigan.
Michigan,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, Lena, I want to go with you really quick. I know that you're a supporter of President Trump, and my issue, the things that David were talking about, people, good people in this rally want just want the monuments to say. For me, if you're a good person and you're in a rally and people start marching, Jews will not replace us, and you stay there, you are not a good person. You go home.
Sure.
Or you shouldn't be there in the first place. There's no good people at a white nationalist rally marching along with people who are saying Jews will not replace us. I think that's uncomplicated.
As a Jewish woman,
exactly.
I couldn't agree with you more. There is no room in this country for hate and racism and bigotry, for people killing each other. And I'm deeply concerned about the state of this country, and that's why I'm running for the United States Senate to fight for Michigan residents and the American people. With that said, I also support a president who has come out strongly against racism and bigotry and violence. There is no room for this in our country, and we all agree on that.
I think the only thing we don't agree with, and we're going to get you in, Ted, is the strongly coming out against. I think he said it. He said the words from time to time. For me, he equivocated. For me, he was ambiguous. I obviously said my piece in the docket, but I think that hesitance is an issue for some people.
But the geography real quick matters here, because you say they were there marching, people marching with them. First of all, I don't know how many of you have been to Charlottesville, but I've actually sat down and had dinner at a restaurant on that street a block away from this happened. And I'm going to tell you the geography of this. You had both sides going at it, the neo-Nazis, and you had the Antifa, the Black Lives Matter. Those were about a couple hundred people combined. Then away from that were the people that were actually protesting on any side of this peacefully without getting involved. The total number in that area, some estimate around 1,000. So you ought to pay attention and not also put the people that were there for whatever reason who were peaceful under the Constitution with the people that were there to spread their hate and violent clashes.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to go ahead and say the most controversial thing in the world. And if you find fault with this, you're brain dead. All lives matter, and we condemn all violence. Those are bad words. Where are those bad words? What planet are you from?
Okay.
We condemn all violence. That's what President Trump said. And all lives matter. If you don't agree with that, you're a racist.
Okay, so if a Muslim Islamic terrorist had driven a car into a group of people, would you accept the president? Let's say it were Obama.
Yes,
saying,
absolutely. All violence is condemnable.
Was Islamic.
Violence and hate came from all and many sources, and we condemn them all. That's ambiguous.
Yeah.
That's
Should
ambiguous.
we not say radical Islamic terror?
Ted, here's the problem, Ted.
That's a problem,
It wasn't all sides that drove a car into Heather.
No, but it was all sides that infuriate their lunatic friends.
But
they don't represent the heart and soul of America.
When the prosecutors go to make this case, probably a federal hate crime, as it should be, a case of
Okay, but
terrorism.
hang on a second.
No, David, let me finish. That will not be ambiguous. There will not be multiple parties held accountable. That's a single individual acting in the name of white nationalism.
The blood
and white
hadn't
supremacy.
even been picked
That's
up
just
yet.
the facts.
All violence is condemnable, and it came from many sources.
And all violence
they're
didn't
all
take Heather's
condemnable.
life, though, David.
But here's
like, that's it.
Sure it did. It
No,
was
it
all
did not.
part
It was
of a
one
bunch of
individual.
lunatic fringe pissing and moaning
Even
and fighting.
President Trump, Ted, said that one individual
Maybe more
is a
information
murderer.
is coming in.
And
the
I must
murderer
add,
is
while I
responsible.
watch this lively debate, I am thinking about the American viewer that's watching us tonight. and they're looking for answers, and they're looking for wisdom, and they're looking for insights. And we can all disagree. In fact, it's the most beautiful part of the American experience is to have an individual opinion and to be protected by free speech.
As long as we're not gagged by political correctness.
Absolutely
All violence is condemnable and all lives matter.
I agree with you 100%.
As long as we also do something else, which is important, take a breath, everybody, and calmly put these where they belong. First, we're discussing, and Ted, you address the president's words and you talk about it. Then you bring in the charge against the man. They are not mixed. They are part of an event, different facets. So for you to sit here and talk about the driver and insert that into the comment about the president, you need to clearly separate them. To your point, the American people.
Actually, they're linked. They're linked because you know what?
Can I finish?
Sure, they're linked.
They're linked into one event. But his actions are not directly attributable to the president's words. They came afterwards. And also, he committed his act for whatever reason, as we will find out in the prosecution, may or may not, based on what they're able to determine. So why don't we do what you and I have talked about over the years on radio and take a pause for the process also to pay out and for the rest of the truth
David.
to come
I have certainly, you know me for many years, and I have never been one to I'm not indicting President Trump for the murder of this young woman. And you know I've never, ever said that, not on this show and not in the years you've known me. That is separate and apart, though, and Kat is right. He is also accountable for his response in the same way that President Obama was accountable for his responses over the years.
People notice the fact that President Trump has never hesitated to name the specific source of the violence and the ideology behind it until it was a white supremacist. That is a fact.
When there's a lot of factions involved, there was numerous factions involved.
A white
so we identified that all the violence was condemnable.
And you know what? I also think that if David Duke and Richard Spencer are praising your approach to racial issues, maybe you're taking the wrong one. Maybe that might be a party.
This is not the party of David Duke.
Intellectually dishonest.
How is it intellectually dishonest?
Yeah, no. How is that intellectually dishonest?
Explain that to me. I really would love to know.
Anybody can attach themselves to anybody, and it doesn't mean it's accurate.
The Republican Party is the party of Lincoln, my friends. We are not the party of David Duke.
Say so. Why doesn't President Trump say so? Because the White House statement said nothing about neo-Nazis, nothing about white supremacy.
I'm glad you're saying so.
First of all, because somebody endorses you, does it mean you ascribe to their beliefs or their endorsement?
Never.
And if so, when the communists endorsed Barack Obama,
absolutely.
did that make him a communist?
So let's
not.
be intellectually honest here, Dave. This is not the first time.
What did I say that was wrong?
No, let me finish. This is not the first time white supremacists or David Duke have tried to hijack wrongfully the Republican Party. You know who forcefully and quickly condemned them? Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. So this is not the GOP's first time at this rodeo.
Trump.
No, he actually told Jake Tapper, Ted, he said, I don't know David Duke. I don't know what you speak about. Ended up. The hesitation is an issue, though, Ted. It is.
It is, and it was with Robert Byrd in the Democrat Party, for example, who accepted him. When are we gonna go out and take his name off buildings around the country? When are Democrats gonna march? And by the way, who decides what comes down in this country needs to be a part of this?
That's a separate, as you say accurately, that's a distinct conversation.
But it's
and I'm happy to have it.
Happy
to have it.
It's a part of this conversation.
I know that the fighting is good in this show, and I know that's important. Let's have the human common denominator tonight, that there are lives that were lost, families in grief. We lost those that would protect us.
Two great troopers.
Two wonderful troopers. Bless them and their families.
We called them out by name on this program because they matter.
And the American people are hurting. Let's be the common denominator. We stand for humanity. We stand for grace and dignity. The Republican Party is the party of more, greater opportunity for all. And while we talk about the terrible tragedies that happened over the weekend, there's a lot of other beautiful stories happening in this country. Americans are enjoying a better experience as a result of Donald Trump's presidency economically. Why do we never talk about that in here?
And put an exclamation point on it the way Ebony started out by saluting the family for showing strength.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
in the face of tragedy, Americans always take the high road and do the right thing. So our prayers go out to the victims, and we hope that the lunatic fringe will be suppressed and contained at some point.
I'm just trying to keep things intellectually honest here, and I know that if this were President Obama and this were an Islamic terrorist that was driving a car into people and he'd responded with, all violence is bad, let's condemn all violence, many of the people that are condoning President Trump would be flipping out over this. I just want people to understand what the word consistency means and their response.
In those instances of tragedy, the perpetrators were specific and individual. In this instance, there were many.
No.
There were many that fanned the flames.
You're talking about the protests. Absolutely, there were many. But when it comes to why Heather is dead today, that's an individual who acted in the name of white nationalism and white supremacy. He's a domestic terrorist. I don't care what you or anyone says. That part is indisputable.
That's disputable under law, under federal law versus state law, and what classifies.
He's a murderer.
That's for sure. If we can't call it by its name, we don't have the moral compass or clarity to be on this set and in this table.
We are.
President Trump is not, and that's the distinction. I'm glad you're representing the GOP very well today.
And I also stand with President Trump.
But you guys are standing for two different things on this issue.
No, it's not.
Yes, you are.
That's a unified condemnation.
No, it's something very different. When he says you could call it, and that's fine.
Protect this country.
The president plainly said yesterday in a press conference, he's either a murderer or we could call him a terrorist. He will not pick what he will call him. He will not do it.
All right. Well, when we return, Michael Moore and other left-wing celebrities taking the streets over President Trump's Charlottesville response. I feel like Ted Nugent might have something to say about it.
Never failing to miss a shot at rank opportunism. Hollywood celebrities joining the uproar against President Trump's Charlottesville response. Late last night, Michael Moore led a host of other celebrities in a protest outside of Trump Tower here in New York City.
We are here to perform a citizen's arrest.
Woo! Yeah! We're here today to commemorate a life of American that was killed by a Nazi on American soil. Let's say her name so Donald Trump can hear what's happened here. He's allowed these people. He's allowed fascism. He's allowed the KKK. He's allowed Nazis to show their ugly face. And we're here to remind them there's a cost for that.
Even the late-night comedians could not hold back from getting overtly political.
I feel like I can say this with reasonable certainty. The president is completely unhinged. The wheels are off the wagon and hurtling towards the moon right now. Now he does need to go. So it's time for, especially you who voted for him, to tell him to go.
The only thing I'm doubting right now is whether you're still going to be president by Friday.
But do all these celebrities just butting in turn off the average American from the issues at hand? David Webb, we saw Hillary Clinton at the tail end of her campaign bringing out full stop, Jay-Z, Beyonce, everybody and their mama, obviously to no avail. Does it help or really does it hurt?
You know, it's like endorsements when you're running for president. How much does the endorsement really matter from a celebrity? How much do they carry? The fact is these guys, I mean, the comedians, the late-night comedians, SNL, all these other groups, they owe Donald Trump for their existence because their ratings were dropping. You just have to look at Variety, look at the reports of it, and they need ratings. You know what? They're in the business of getting viewers so they can sell advertising. So that's what it is. It's Hollywood doing what Hollywood does. Now, Michael Moore is a different story. This is a man who glorifies communism. Under communism and Vladimir Lenin, tens of millions of Americans, the gulags that existed when Bernie Sanders went to Moscow for his honeymoon. Look at what's happened under communism. I think Michael Moore is the bigger hypocrite here.
Kat Temp, I don't know if President Trump has made America great again, but he has certainly made late-night television and Saturday Night Live great again.
That's absolutely true. Look, I mean, I don't know how much I can judge celebrity outrage because I'm not a celebrity, but I am outraged.
Are you sure there's multiple fake Tinder accounts
maybe like W list. I don't know. Yeah, like I have a Twitter account for like my mole between my eyes and stuff like that.
Well, all these guys are so deep in the left tank.
But also,
you are a celebrity.
I don't think it was appropriate for President Trump when he was asked if he would go to Charlottesville. He started saying, "Yeah, I got a home there," and talking about wineries. I don't think that was an appropriate response either.
Well, Ted, you are a real life celebrity, seriously. So, what is your take? Does it feel important to you to weigh in on this political stuff? Do you think it matters, or do you think people just want to hear the facts?
I'll weigh in, and what an appropriate term when talking about Michael Moore. You know, I'm proud of a lot of stuff in my life. I've got my family here, my grandkids. I'm on the greatest tour of my life. People love my music, and I love my music. I really live the American dream. But my proudest moment is when someone like Michael Moore hates me. So if Michael Moore hates me and the president, it is such a badge of honor. You can't get deeper into the dirtbag world than Michael Moore. He Bowling for Columbine is a documentary? Are you kidding me? This guy is pure hypocrisy. He's a bad man. I understand he's still looking for hygiene. Michael Moore is an embarrassment to Michigan, and he's an embarrassment to anybody with a soul or conscience. So I take that as a badge of honor when guys like that spew. And as far as the late night guys go, they're all so deep in the leftist tank that every time they open their mouth, good Americans of common sense and logic and decency write that off as just stupid.
Lena, to you, you are running for office. You, I'm sure, on the ground, shaking hands, meeting people, hearing their stories of real hardworking Americans. Do you think they care about this?
When I co-chaired President Trump's campaign in Michigan, one thing was clear. People of Michigan feel left behind and underrepresented by a federal government that hasn't served them. We felt the depths of despair when the recession hit in 2008. As a business owner, I could not look away. That's when I got involved in politics. So today, all of the celebrities, all of the media hype on Donald Trump, this helped the man get elected. Sure. And today, as a national surrogate for the president and the administration, I continue to double down on the fact that the media is helping the man.
I agree.
And at the end of the day, I believe that as Americans, we all fundamentally want some of the same things. We want freedom. We want opportunity. We want to have safe schools. The viewers tonight are wondering, am I going to have a job tomorrow, in a month, in a year, when my child is sick? Will there be a good doctor? And will I be able to afford the cost of health care? This is what people are concerned about. Let's come together. I truly believe in an American opportunity for all of us. Why are we not talking about this every day?
I think that's exactly right. And I think every American values exactly what you're talking about. And I think the minute we all can accept in this country that we can all have that and it doesn't have to be at the expense of one another, we're closer to that American dream.
Bingo.
Coming
There
up,
you go with that.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions in Miami today, praising it for ending its sanctuary city policies. Can more cities follow suit? Stay with us.
All right, so good news in one Florida city, Miami-Dade County, the end of sanctuary city policies and receiving high praise from Attorney General Jeff Sessions today, addressing officials in the Port of Miami this afternoon.
Miami-Dade is an example of what is possible through hard work, professional policing, and a dedication to the rule of law. It's proof that the entire nation, it gives us an example. All of us can do better throughout this country. It's not impossible. Today, I'm here to announce that Miami-Dade is now in compliance, full compliance, and eligible for all federal law enforcement grant dollars.
But a big question does remain. Can the Justice Department persuade other sanctuary jurisdictions to get on board? Ebony, I'm going to come to you first on this. Sure. Of course, till September 30th, Rahm Emanuel, for instance, in Chicago, high murder capital of the country, tragically, is right when he says you can't take it back. The Supreme Court, I wear their cufflinks, weighed in on this. You can't claw back the funds. But in the new budget, they can do something about those block grants.
Yes.
The states, the jurisdictions, what about protecting the citizens who live there, not just hiding illegals?
Yeah. Well, I actually had a docket before Monday's docket. And on it, I say very plainly, David, I'm not in favor of sanctuary cities, mainly because I'm someone that believes I don't disrespect states' rights, but I think on this issue, it is so clearly outweighed the overall general safety. And frankly, I told you, I don't think sanctuary cities make the people attempting to come here any safer either. I think it has a rippling and crippling effect across current Americans, people trying to come here for whatever reasons, and they really just are in direct conflict with our federal law. So I do not support them.
All right. So, Kat, there is the issue of law and legality, states' rights, and all of that. But there's also another issue, and that's the economic issue. There is a huge cost to illegal immigration. There's a huge cost when we have to prosecute criminal illegal aliens and put them away, but that's worth it. So what about that cost to the cities, not just the lives that are lost to illegals?
Well, I don't necessarily think that illegal immigrants are, like the main cause of violence anywhere. There certainly have been instances where that's occurred. And I also think that the constitutional issues of, local versus federal, those matter. They certainly do. Imagine if it was a Democratic president and he wanted to try to withhold grants, because of gun control or something like that. However, I don't see how anyone could have a problem with this. This is Miami-Dade County deciding to do this for itself. And I've never been there. I don't know what's best for Miami-Dade County. They should be able to decide that. And this is clearly what they've decided. And I love that we have a system that allows for these sorts of things.
But yes or no answer, should there be sanctuary cities in America?
It depends. See, it's much more complicated than that.
No, there shouldn't be.
Oh, I'd love to finish. That'd be amazing.
I would just like to ask you.
It's much more complicated. It's about I think the issue here isn't should they or should they. The issue is constitutional.
Do they have a right to
in terms of
choose?
Do they have a right to force local police officers to do ISIS
and then
job?
you wonder why
the Constitution matters to me.
You wonder why there's divisiveness in America. Let me tell you where the division is. The division is people on my side who don't think you should give sanctuary to criminals. Then you got some goofballs who think, well, we need to give sanctuary to bad people, criminals, people who break the law. Are you kidding me? This is a debate in America where you want to provide sanctuary for criminals.
Quick question,
What
Ted,
planet
before-
are you
quick
from?
question. We're going to get her in here. Quick question. Where are you on the dreamers? Where are you on the children that come here before
But now
the
we're
age
getting
of
into a
18?
complicated issue because you got innocent people who did not come here illegally, were born here.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, at some point, you've got to draw the line. There's legal immigration like my grandparents and everybody's, and then there's illegal.
And I,
All right, so let's go to you,
I
Lena. Where do you
stand
stand on
firmly
this?
on the defunding of sanctuary cities. And as a constitutional conservative, when we talk about the Constitution, we're talking about immigration laws that are already in place and enforcing those laws. We're not talking about creating something new.
But ICE is supposed to enforce those according to the Constitution.
We are talking about a beautiful path to citizenship in this country that all of our families went through at one point. We followed
not all of them.
legal path. My
The
family
legal ones did.
My family did, and we worked tirelessly.
I didn't get here illegally. It was actually legal at the time, Ted,
And
but I didn't come here through
When
immigration.
we welcome you, we're loved that you're
As a
Thank
future
you.
United States Senator, I will support the defunding of sanctuary cities unapologetically, fervently, and will continue to do so for the rest of my days in leading this country.
For me, it's not about whether they're good or bad. For me, it's wanting to always be very careful to make sure that we do things according to what the Constitution allows. Because if we don't do that, then the whole Constitution means nothing.
And Joe Arpaio is going to go to jail because he enforced that law. That's when it gets really ugly.
He might get a pardon from President Trump.
He's going to.
Well, it's his plenary power and a pardon, but that's a discussion for another time. Straight ahead, President Trump taking a victory lap after Kim Jong-un's little Kim backs down from his Guam attack threats. Don't go away. I've been to Guam. Let me tell you, we're going to defend it.
Welcome back to the Fox News Specialists. Our specialists today are Lena Epstein and Ted Nugent. Let's continue the conversation. President Trump is sounding off about Kim Jong-un's retreat on his threats to attack Guam. The president tweeting earlier today, quote, Kim Jong-un of North Korea made a very wise and well-reasoned decision. The alternative would have been both catastrophic and unacceptable. Also, it appears that China has started implementing new UN sanctions against the rogue state, with reports of mass gridlock today along the Chinese-North Korean border, targeting North Korean seafood exports, a critical source of cash for the regime. Yeah, I mean, I would say that that was the right decision of Kim Jong-un, because, you know, the other one, he'd have been totally annihilated. Yeah. So I would agree with that. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Ebony?
His survival instincts kicked in.
Right call on this one. No, I think obviously, look, I'm someone that really didn't have a problem with President Trump's initial statements around it. I think there's a time for diplomacy, and when you're dealing with a complete nut job, I don't know about that. So I think forceful language was appropriate there. Regardless, really, either way, to your point, Kat, he knew that that would wreak disaster if he chose anything but this. So this is a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. It would amount to him actually killing himself if he were to attack us or any of our territories or our allies, right? I mean, and he knew that. He knew that, Lena.
Absolutely. And President Trump campaigned on the abandonment of political correctness. He campaigned on putting America first. And yet, I watched the world criticize him for some of his statements on Guam. And look what it did. Look what it did for us today. We have reasserted ourselves as the powerhouse of the world that we've always been. But we want a president who's scrappy, who's going to fight for us and put our interests first. What more could we want in an American president when it comes to a nuclear threat?
You know, what we have to look at is a complex situation that has been going on since the 90s and where it is now and who we're dealing with. I don't know about any of you here. I've actually sat down and talked with people who've escaped North Korea, done specials here on Fox News with them, Yeonmi Park being one of them. when you look at this nation and you look at the people leading it, you've got to deal with them from their perspective. Part of the problem is we've had the six-party talks going on for years, the simmering pot that is North Korea that China keeps bubbling, which keeps us busy for their interests. So we have to change that dynamic if we're actually going to deal with them. And while we can, I don't want to parse the words and the type of words used, but the strength being projected matters to the person receiving the message. And that's an important point. You've got to give the person the message that they will respond to. And I think in this case, we've got to step in the right direction, but we have a long way to go.
You got to speak to where they can understand.
Exactly.
Also, I mean, this has been pretty standard where they make these threats, they do the big talk, and oh, just kidding, it turns out I don't want to kill myself and all my people.
I'm surprised we didn't
care about killing his people.
Their lies, if I could just interject real quick, their lies have been consistent. In '94, Clinton gave them $4 billion Nobel Peace Prize to Jimmy Carter, and in 2002, they admitted they lied. So we know they lie. We know they have a co-development program with Iran. So when we look at all of that, and the administration, the advisors look at this, you've got to change that dynamic because what exists now has allowed for nuclear North Korea to advance.
Ted, I bet you're going to say that President Trump should have been nicer to Kim Jong-un.
Exactly. He should have been a sweetheart.
Send Dennis Rodman
speak loudly and carry a little twig. I'm just glad that we didn't send Dennis Rodman over and be our representative over there. We talked at length about this over a 4-hour dinner at the White House. And everybody there was genuinely concerned, as up to date as they could be. I'm just a guitar player, but I try to pay attention. And we talked about these very strategies that historically you have to be open always to diplomacy and any other consideration to stop a nuclear hell zone. But you have to show your might. You got to show all the power and be believable that you will use it if you have to. And we're talking about this little turd, thinking that he can run his country like a tyrant and like a king and a despot. And I think Donald Trump was the right man at the right time. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. And that's how I think we got him to back down.
President of Iran is warning the country may restart its nuclear program within hours or days should the U.S. apply new sanctions pressure against it. Fox News strategic analyst Ralph Peters gave his take on the threat earlier today.
Well, they're starting to sound like North Koreans. But certainly, they can ramp their program up. I'm not sure it's within hours. But because the nuclear deal Obama and Kerry struck with Iran was so full of holes and so weak, and especially weak on inspections.
Well, this is why I hated the Iran deal to begin with, because it had sanctions in it that were utterly self-enforcement. I mean, are we kidding? And you know how I feel about sanctions. It really, if it wasn't so sad, it would be funny.
Well, here's the thing, and I mentioned this before we got to this part, Kat. The co-development program with Iran. In the case of the Taipodong missile, it now becomes the Al-Shahab in Iran. You look at this program, they're working together. Iranians are there when North Korea does tests. Let's face it, we gave them a bucket load of money. Cash is king when it comes to the terrorist market. And we cannot allow North Korea to go further. We cannot allow Iran to go further.
The night that my opponent, Debbie Stabenow, voted in favor of the Iran deal, I looked at my husband, Eric, and I said, this is her last term. We just fueled our country's greatest enemy. What are we going to do now? And to all of my friends in Congress that voted to save their jobs under the Obama administration, I am saying, look at what we have put ourselves, the situation that we are in now. The Iran deal was the worst international deal in American history. And that 15-year sunset is coming up very soon, my friends. What are we going to do about it? And that's one of the key reasons why I am running to be the next United States Senator from Michigan, this Iran deal.
Along with the wall and tax cuts and immigration reform, this was a key pivotal issue for President Donald Trump. He addressed this, and that's why he won.
All right, up next, rocker David Crosby throwing down the gauntlet on Ted Nugent. And why Ted has been kept out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Oh, it's on. When we come back.
Ships on the water.
Rocker David Crosby of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young fame is taking on our very own specialist, Ted Nugent. Ted, of course, a longstanding outspoken conservative. And during a recent radio interview, imagine this, Ted made some waves in the music industry about why he's yet to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm on the board of directors of the NRA. Jan Wenner hates the Second Amendment, so that's the only reason I'm not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
David Crosby is tweeting out a really obscene response to Ted's remarks, writing, quote, something I can't say on TV, just isn't good enough. All right, Ted, so, you have been loud and unapologetic, as you should be, about your political views, and it seems in this moment it is costing you a great musical honor.
I don't think so at all. The musical honor is that 50 years later, I'm doing my 6,621st concert for ultra music lovers who just love real rhythm and blues and rock and roll. And with all due respect to David Crosby, if any is due, here's a bloated carcass that has abused his body all his life. He's a repository for every drug and chemical known to man. And if he doesn't have that much respect or soul, then his criticism to me is a badge of honor. He can kiss my ass.
Do you think, Ted, if you had a more liberal point of view, if you had a different point of view...
If I had more liberal point of view, I wouldn't be on The Specialist because I'd be too stupid to carry on a conversation. No, I'm standing my ground. I have this constitutional thing. I have this common sense, this logic, self-evident truth. I've saluted too many flag-draped coffins to dismiss the perfection of our constitutional republic. And anybody that disagrees with that is just weird.
And that man, Ted Nugent, belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Just shy of 7,000 concerts, 30 million records, and your songs, Ted, are American anthems. And I want to invite you...
They're the battle cries for freedom.
Yes, I want to invite you on national television to join my daughter and me. My daughter's born on October 6th. Her due date's October 6th. Join us on the campaign trail. Together, we will be unseating Debbie Stabenow. We'd love to have you on the trail.
We need to make Michigan, Michigan again, and I'm all there, believe me.
Congratulations, by the way, Lena. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do you think that this is... PC backlash is the type that we know happens in this country all the time.
It is to some degree, and as someone who has been inside the Hall of Fame, we actually have studios there for Sirius XM. I've interviewed them, talked with their education secretary and other people, or education leaders there. Their judgment's wrong on this. If it's based on music, in my background, I started out in music radio, classic rock. Stranglehold got me through more bathroom breaks in music than you can imagine. And
Hallelujah.
our mutual friend Greg O, who's watching from many years ago, can agree on this. But when you have your views, they're held against you. Do people that exist in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame belong there? A lot of them do. A lot of them are questionable. But if you're not there because of your views, when you have, and I think it's actually closer to 40 million, not
40
to
million
correct you, but 40 million records. I come from music, man.
And I was voted #1 guitar player in Detroit. And Detroit's the epicenter.
And literally someone who has created a fan base worldwide. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is supposed to represent your contributions to music, regardless of the format. And I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed. I'm actually a little pissed off.
And I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried at all because I know what the real Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is. And it's touring every year for real music lovers every year.
It's about the fans, and that's what it is in any business, but certainly in music.
And I believe they will figure it out sooner or later.
And as a card-carrying member of the NRA, Ted's role on the board of directors is very, very important. We want to thank you for that and all the work that you've done. Thank you very much.
Freedom is perfect.
I'm still just trying to imagine Ted Nugent as a liberal. I've been
that kind of
I don't even know what that would look like.
Oh my God!
You know what we need? We need a rock and roll, and I mean a real rock and roll revival of all the people out there that have been conservative in rock and roll music for
years. There's a bunch of them.
I grew up.
I think the revival's
with a whole lot of them. I was out on tour with a whole lot of them. Let me tell you, you'd be surprised, folks, who is actually very Republican, very conservative-minded in the music industry.
You bet.
Well, I think this is America, and as you said earlier, Lena, the best thing about our country is the freedom to express a multitude of diversity.
And I support them all.
And that's where we should be as a country. Well, we've got to say goodbye to our specialists now. That makes me sad. Lena Epstein and Ted Nugent, thank you both so much for joining us. Up next, it's Wait, What? Don't go away.